Yo, what's going on? What's going on, good people? Peace and love. Happy Thursday. Listen, every day that you live and that you overcome obstacles and that you are better than what you were the day before, the weeks before, the months before, years before, that it gives you a type of perspective on yourself that you can do hard things, that you can overcome tough challenges, that you can endure great pain, right? I know a lot of people say they don't want to experience pain, but yet we understand, understand, and overstand that pain is an indicator of growth. We understand that there are literally physical growing pains that young people feel in their knees and their back when they're growing taller, right? Um, when you work out in the gym, you feel pains from lifting weights or doing push-ups or whatever workout you're doing. You feel pains in your gut when you're doing the ab exercises in your stomach. But those are all indicators of growth, of progress, of transformation. So the pain that you experience in your life, the pain that we experience in our lives, the pain that I'm experiencing in my life is a sign that I'm doing some work, right? Because what they say, the pain of progress from doing the thing or the pain of regret, which one do you want? The pain of feeling the burn in your muscles, right? Feeling the stretch in your muscles, the pain, the emotional pain of enduring when somebody is talking slick to you or when someone's treating you in a way that you feel is unjust or unfair, that pain, or the pain of lashing out, being how you used to be, right? Matching energy and then feeling pain of regret, being incarcerated, your goals being pushed further away from you, right? That's painful as well. So choose your pain wisely, as they say. Choose wisely, make a wise decision. Um, what's going on? Sefu Sankofa, big brother. Peace and love. What's going on? It was so good to be with you up in the Bronx yesterday, my brother. It was short notice, something I forgot. All right, we're gonna talk about it on the show later. But thanks for showing up, brother. Thanks for being available. It was great to have you there. I figured you would enjoy, right, that show. I figured you would be happy to be there. TV studio, you know, you do your podcast, NEP PC, Northeast Political Prisoner Code. Because I'd be like NEPCC, NEPPC. I figured you would enjoy it. TV studio setting. I know you're into media, so I figured it would be beneficial. I figured it would do something to you, inspire some more drive in you. All right. So I hope you enjoyed it, brother. It was great to have you there. Mona Love, happy, thankful, therapeutic, and thriving Thursday. Baby love, what's up? Appreciate you being here right over there in the next room. It's always good to have you here with me in studio. Will. Peace and love, good brother. Peace and love. It was also great to see you yesterday, man. It was great to be with you yesterday. It was great to talk with you, man, and just pick up your books. All right. Got a couple copies of your books I gave to my loved ones, right? Said Fool, Mona, and Brother Eddie. They are all grateful and looking forward to reading your work, brother. We're all looking forward to reading your work. I actually started this morning. I read the first 2 chapters. Some dope stuff you got, man. Incredibly powerful gift you have, my brother. And I hope you write more. Right, I would love to read more of your work, right? More of your stuff. So yeah, keep going, man. But what's going on, family? Happy Thursday. Thankful, thriving, and therapeutic Thursday. I'm your boy, your host, LaShawn Sugar Ray Marston. You are tuned into episode 467. Episode 467 of SRDaily, 94 weeks in. And we're going to start with our first segment of the day. Today's first segment on this Thursday, October 2nd. Beautiful. This light is nice and bright outside. I can't wait. We'll be outside today. Food distribution, grief support group. It's a beautiful day to have a beautiful day. But let's start with our first segment, family. First segment today is a word of the day. Today's word is actually 2 words that has becoming a phrase. But it's really 2 words. It's really one word, right? 2 words, 1 word. Healing justice. I spoke last week, a few days ago, maybe earlier this week, about restorative justice. All right. And I think restorative justice deals with when something happens, right, how we address it, right, other than punitive and punishing and all of that stuff. We bring people together, bring both sides, someone who caused harm, someone who was harmed, families, communities, bring them together, talk what are alternatives, right? How do we still get justice by restoring humanity, by restoring relationships, by helping restore a person's role in society, right? Without punishing them, without criminalizing them, without sending them to prison. We know that that doesn't work. I think there is a thread in between and in the beginning that can help prevent restorative justice, right? From even being a thing, especially punitive justice, and that's healing justice. So healing justice refers to processing and healing from generational trauma and systemic oppression towards holistic well-being. We define human justice as a framework that aims, so this part is from the Youth Organized California. We define healing justice as a framework that aims to address widespread generational trauma from systemic violence and oppression. Healing justice is a term that focuses on social and racial justice through self-care and care for one's community. The original definition for healing justice was created by Kara Page in the Kindred Southern Healing Justice Collective. Shout out to Kara Page, dope Black woman who's done dope work for a very long time. A framework that identifies how we can holistically respond to and intervene on generational trauma and violence and bring collective practices that can impact and transform the consequences of oppression on our bodies, hearts, and minds. One more time, the original definition for healing justice was created by Kara Page and the Kindred Southern Healing Justice Collective, and the definition is a framework that identifies how we can holistically respond to and intervene on generational trauma and violence and bring collective practices that can impact and transform the consequences of oppression on our bodies, hearts, and minds. So understanding that a lot of times there's oppression and conditioning that then creates actions, behaviors that in our communities can be seen as crimes, violence, and detrimental, destructive to our community, our families, and ourselves, right? And I wanted to talk about this because yesterday I went to, I wasn't in the best space yesterday afternoon, right? I was in a great space yesterday morning, afternoon, some stuff transpired. Didn't feel so like great and light, right? But still showed up for the things I had to show up for, hanging with the young people, Echoes, and they're doing the art of the interview, right? So this 5-week sessions, these 5-week sessions are about learning interview skills, right? What makes a great interview, and they're practicing interviews and they're watching videos on interviews. So yesterday we watched a video, 7-minute video on domestic abuse, right? And finding healing. And you know, we spoke about how years ago there would be in America, you know, you call the cops, there's a domestic situation, cops will come and they would say, hey, listen, just take a walk, go around the block, come back, cops will leave, right? And sometimes the violence continues, sometimes it calms down. But then there was a time in I believe the 80s or 90s where the law changed and it had to be a mandatory arrest. If the cops are called to a home for domestic abuse, they had to arrest somebody, right? That became mandatory. And a lot of times, person calling the cops doesn't want their loved one to be arrested. They just want the violence, the abuse to stop, right? And so it's a lot wrapped in that. But what came out of that and what is coming out of that is understanding that this concept of, again, restorative justice, yes, but even I think more profound is healing justice. Understanding again that, yes, something happened and we can restore humanity, but how is this thing even happening? Why is this thing even happening? So healing justice can be seen and is seen a lot of times as a preventative measure, right? If we can talk about these things in circles, in community, and if we can have, you know, different films and different ways to communicate how we got here. How did a man who says he loves black people, black man who says he loves black people, says he loves black women, get to a space to where he is physically harming, hitting, hurting a black woman who a lot of times could be his woman, his wife, right? How does that happen? How do we get there? Right. And so we get to look at, again, the impacts, right? Generational trauma and violence, right? The consequences of oppression and how it impacts our physical bodies, our hearts, and our minds. So healing justice, extremely important. Do more research on it. Look it up. Look into it. Figure out how you can your work, right? How you can institute this in your work, in your community, in your family, and what you can add to it. Because again, it's a framework that's still growing, still evolving, it's still fairly new, right? A lot of people are still in the challenge, right? That my brother from Holla, Corey Green, had mentioned years ago was a lot of these things like restorative justice has been catchphrased, right? It's a real process, it's a real practice, right? From ancient times here in Native America and Africa and Asia and South America and the Caribbean, right? Something happens and we get together as a community and we talk about it because we love this person and this person is loved. And yes, this person violated, caused harm to some capacity, but they're still our family member, our son, our daughter, our father, our mother is still a person who we value. And we need to figure out how do we restore this person's humanity and restore this person's role in this family, in this society, in this community, right? But that's been catchphrased where now people are just making a lot of freaking money, and the people who are really doing the work, who have really been doing the work, the one are not compensated, but the original practices are being commodified, and that's not what it's about. This is real spiritual work for a lot of us, right? So let's do more work. Let's move right along, family, to our second segment of the day. Today's second segment, I haven't read from these people in a long time. Our need to know news of the day is from the Good News Network, and it is something that I saw and I thought was pretty interesting, pretty cool, especially because the news is Sponge Park in Vine City, Atlanta, helped save the neighborhood from flooding. And again, I think this article for me was really important because in Long Island City, right, One LIC, they are pushing hard to go ahead with this rezoning where they can build more luxury towers, right, go from industrial business zone to a mixed use, and they can build more luxury towers on the waterfront, essentially in Long Island City, where there's already flooding and there are already issues with, sewer maintenance, a lot of challenges, man. And Sponge Park, right, which is something that I mentioned before, what Nautilus does is figure out how you can use parks, how you can use green space to mitigate flooding, right, impacts on community, impacts on the neighborhood. And I can't remember, there is a park, I want to say in Manhattan somewhere. I want to say, I don't know what museum that is, but it's where I took my children and my mom a couple years ago for my son's birthday to see the Vincent van Gogh art exhibit. It's a park right there on the water. I want to say Battery City. Can't remember though exactly. But it's a park. If you know the park, right? It goes up in a circle, right? You can walk up the green space. You can sit. There's benches. It's a beautiful park. But that park was built that way because they built a flood wall, right? And so that's why it goes up, because it's green and you don't know that it's a flood wall because they built a park on it. And that's ways that you can use green space, you can use parks to mitigate the flooding and the impacts of heavy rains and hurricanes. So anyway, if you pay attention, right now in America, more neighborhoods, more communities are seemingly experiencing more flooding during heavy rains and hurricane season. So let's read this article and let's talk about Sponge Park. It's super dope, right? I even like the name Sponge Park. Reminds me of SpongeBob. So innovative new Sponge Park helped save historic Atlanta neighborhood from flooding. This is September 27, 2025. So this is just last week. The article came out. Super dope. The image of the park. Rodney Cook Sr. Park in Vine City looks amazing. $40 million may seem like a lot of money to the average person, but it's just a fraction of what municipalities were spending to clean up and shore up their cities and towns following Hurricane Helene. For Vine City, Atlanta, $40 million was the cost of a solution to flooding problems that long predate Helene. It bought the historic neighborhood a big, beautiful new park that works like a sponge. GNN has reported on the Sponge City concept before, where parks and urban developers use greenery and water features to help absorb rain and floodwater to slow its entry into the drainage system. It's been picked up by the Netherlands and China, and now too in Atlanta with Rodney Cook Sr. Park. Atlanta City Council member Byron Amos, who was born and raised in Vine City, remembers several flooding events that left residents' basements submerged and cars soaked through. Amos worked with the Trust for Public Land to adopt the Sponge City concept for Vine City. When water is rerouted through the neighborhood to this site, the pond fills up, and the rain gardens, other green infrastructure throughout the park houses water to be collected and basically take the load off the city's stormwater system. So that read crazy, but I read it just as it's written. Said Jay Wozniak with the trust. Despite being 300 miles inland, Helene reached out her stormy fingers even as far as Atlanta, and suddenly Amos and Wozniak's solution would be put to the test. People were calling, "The park is flooding, the park is flooding," and my response was, "It's doing its job," Amos told CBS News. Indeed, Rodney Cook Park filled up with 9 million gallons of water, but nearby residents' homes stayed dry. Within 72 hours, Wozniak said, no one even knew a storm had taken place. In addition to being a piece of the stormwater system, the park is also a beautiful gathering space filled with water features, a multi-sport composite court, plenty of green spaces, and fitness equipment. Built for the trust by HDR, it collected no less than 10 major architecture, design, and landscape engineering awards. Super dope. I think that's super dope. I'm going to share this with my team, my crew, right, with the Western Queens Community Land Trust and Long Island City Coalition and Hunters Point Coalition and Nautilus Foundation. Because this is something we need to share this with the councilwoman, because like these people are really, really, really pushing Eric Adams' plan, City of Yes, and it's freaking to a detriment of the city, not just the people who live in the city, right? Like in terms of housing and cost of living, but to the land itself. It's you can't keep a couple years ago, right? Large freaking luxury tower went up. I don't even know how many stories, 30 stories, I think, maybe 20 something stories in Long Island City. And community, right, were already telling people that you shouldn't build this close to the waterfront. You shouldn't keep building this close to the waterfront. And I promise you, within I think like a year, 2 years, less than 2 years, the person who built that building, the real estate developer, they were complaining that there was flooding in the basement. Like we told you, stop building luxury towers so close to the waterfront. Think about the land, not just your profit. Think about the community. Think about what's happening here. Don't just think about how much money you can make if you build all these towers and move all of these people in from another city and have them pay this $3,000 for these 1 bedrooms or studio bedrooms in some cases in Long Island City. Like, get your head out of the money jar and really think about the earth. Again, even if you don't care about humanity, even if you don't care about the people, right? Specific groups of people. Think about the freaking land and think about now how much more money you have to spend to now mitigate the flooding and the challenges to the damage to the structure, to the building. Now you got to replace this. So much more money. Now you're paying for more labor. It doesn't make any sense. But so goes it. A lot of these people do a lot of things that don't make no freaking sense. Right? But yeah, that's what I wanted to read this morning for our news of the day. Sefu said, how does that materialize? What do you mean, brother? That was a while ago. My bad. Willie said, this is just the beginning. Appreciate y'all. Mona Love said, I'm excited to read your book. Willie Will. Awesome. Yeah. Great work. Let's move right along, family, to our third segment of the day. Today's third segment, as always, is a tip of the day. Today's tip is reminding to myself and to you guys. Be patient with yourself and trust your process of becoming. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with yourself. Be on nature's time, or as our religious brothers and sisters may say, God's time. Be on God's timing. That timing, nature's time, God's timing, universal time is perfect. Listen, in this book, Wisdom of the Ages, right? In this book, Wisdom of the Ages, Wayne Dyer. Today's chapter was on patience. All right. And I ended up reading it after I read it myself. And I got emotional reading it, right? Because I'm dealing with a situation that is testing my patience. I posted it in my notes yesterday, right? In my note on Facebook and Instagram. Patience being tested at an insane level, right? But I'm reminded, my own experience, times when I wanted to act with haste and I was patient, I got a desired result. I'm remembering that. This chapter helped me remember that this morning, right? And in the chapter, he quotes Confucius. But then what's so dope, he goes on to talk about patience in such a way, right? Made a great point. It was made about eating a fig. He said, if you want to eat a fig, you must let it grow, produce fruit, and then ripen. Very simple. right? Not always easy when you're impatient, right? When you're impatient, it's not easy. Now I want the fig. I need the fig. I see it growing a little bit. He spoke about radishes. He spoke about seeing the radish leaves grow and like seeing a little bit and pulling it out the ground, and then there was nothing, right? But have been a little more patient, you would have got the radishes, right? Been more patient, right? When you are patient, let the fig grow, let it produce fruit, let it does what it does on its own time. It's harvesting too fast, you won't be able to eat a fig. And so I am pretty patient. I like to think I'm very patient, actually. But I strive to be even more patient, because as patient as I am, I can use more patience, right? Because I so impatient. This has to happen now. But with the, I do know, and I have learned again from my own real life experiences, right, that my impatience related to a bunch of different things can actually bring forth results I don't want. And it has. I've had situations where I needed to be, I should have been, I could have been more patient because I was impatient, right? I end up acting in a way, saying something, behaving in a way that brought results that I didn't want and I didn't like, and that I was completely unhappy with. But it was a lesson, right? So right now in my life, I'm saying it publicly on air for you all to hear me say, I commit to surrendering to the process and will of the divine regarding all of the situations, right? All of the situations, from my health, my fitness, right, to my children, my mom, my brother, right? All of the things, man, I am surrendering to the process, right? Because as I've said many times on the show, right? They say if you want to make God laugh, tell God your plans. And that's in Christianity. And in Islam, man plans, but Allah is the best of planners. Listen, this thing is not on our time. It's not on our time. He gave in his book, right? In his book, he gave another analogy. He said, fast forward your watch a few hours and then rip a couple of months of the calendar and see if you've advanced time. You haven't. You do all of that stuff, and time is still taking its time, right? So be patient. Be patient. Be patient. Be patient. Before I move forward to the last segment, let me show you guys a copy of Willie's book, right? Note to Self. Incredible book. Note to Self, the daily reminder. And I told him once I finish the book, I'm going to interview him. So we're going to talk to Willie about this book. Note to Self, the daily reminder is more than a book. It's a mirror. Through honest stories, personal transformation, and practical wisdom, Willie Levy opens the door to the struggles we often suffer with in silence. Overthinking, misplaced energy, lack of focus, and the heavy weight of expectations. From a man who once lied about being shot to avoid explaining his limp, to a father of four learning to lead with discipline, grace, and presence, this is a journey of becoming. Each chapter serves as a reminder that healing and growth begin with self-awareness. Whether you're stuck in your head, struggling to focus, or learning to give yourself grace, this book invites you to slow down, reflect, and remember. You are exactly who you think you are once you get out of your head. You are exactly who you think you are once you get out of your head. Powerful. Note to Self, the daily reminder. Shout out to Willie. Hey, yo, David Sincere, what's going on, good brother? Peace and love. Peace and love. EO Design, NYC, what's going on, sister? Peace and love. So grab a copy. Hit him up if you got him on your friends list. Follow him on Instagram, right? Hit him up. But you can also go to his you can Google the book, Amazon, right? The book is on Amazon. You can look it up, get your copy, right? We got some signed copies, right? Because that's my boy. We know him. And sign some copies for us. So shout out to you, good brother. So move right along, fourth and final segment of the day. Keep on the tune of Black men. I want to give a shout out to brother Keith Gaffney, a fellow All Kings member. I've mentioned to you guys about All Kings, the incredible men's organization focused on mental health, emotional well-being, leadership development. Incredible group of men. Went on a men's retreat 2 months ago now in August. Another retreat happening this weekend. I'm not going to. I told you guys all about that. Shout out to Keith Gaffney, man. He filmed his first episode of his new TV show, X, The Unknown Factor, yesterday at Bronx Net in the South Bronx. Super dope, super powerful. I had a few young people in attendance that were talking about their experiences, man. One young sister spoke about, because so the topic was on black men, young black men, and the challenges that we face, right? And built on what does it look like when young Black men have their needs, their basic needs met, food, clothing, and shelter? What does that look like? And then what does it look like when those needs are not met? Right. And then I got into forgiveness and acceptance and love, and I got into gangs. And young sister said that her cousin killed her god brother. And they were teenagers, both teenagers. Her cousin killed her god brother. They were in gangs. Right. Brother spoke about his cousin killing his father. Right. Just a lot of pain, a lot of emotional pain, a lot of hurt. Right. And I asked the question, I said, how do we create community? How do we create this camaraderie? Right. How do we build better brotherhood and sisterhood when there's pain like that? When your cousin killed my son, when your uncle sold crack to my mother and caused her to allow me to be raped, right? Like, how do we, in spite of all this trauma, and the brother mentioned we just got to do it. And it's like, yeah, that's real, but like, what does that process really look like? Because saying just do it is easy, but actually doing it is hard because you got to get through. And I think the restorative justice can play a role in that, right? I think recognizing that there's a common enemy can play a role in that. Yeah, all this happened, but like, ain't we all tired of it? Nobody really wants to keep getting shot. Nobody really wants to keep going to jail. Nobody really wants to keep going to the funerals of people they love who were killed. We don't really want that, right? Like, that's why even gangsters cry, right? Gangsters, their friend get killed, their brother gets killed, something happens to a child in the neighborhood, they cry. Damn, that's messed up. But then how do we create something different? It does take work. It takes effort, a lot of effort. Somebody says, yes, it takes a desire to want to do it. That's a fact. You have to want to do something different, right? And then we come together, figure it out. And I think once we want to do something different, not knowing how, if we can say, yo, there's a common threat to our neighborhood, there's a common threat to our people, right? It's a common enemy. Once we can identify that, then I think we're able to really like put some stuff to the side, deal with that. And as we deal with that, as we address that common enemy, then we can start to heal, start to talk, start to like find pathways, create pathways to forgiveness, to understanding, to compassion, to restoring humanity, towards healing, right? But yeah, Keith Gaffney, man, incredible show. BronxNet was my first time at BronxNet yesterday. I've never been there. I've been to BCAT. I've been to QPTV. I haven't been to MNN. MNN is Manhattan Neighboring Network, and I don't even know if Staten Island got a public access TV. I'm sure they do, but I don't know the name, right? BronxNet is Bronx Public Access TV. BCAT is Brooklyn Public Access TV. QPTV is Queens Public Access TV. And MNN is Manhattan Neighboring Network, Manhattan Public Access TV. Each borough has free TV shows. They have studios, right, where you can become a producer. You can use in-studio equipment. You can take equipment out, right? Once you become a producer, you go through certain trainings. So super dope. And I know that I need to reach out to BCAT. I'm from Queens. I have no problem being transparent. I've done not my own shows, but I've been in QPTV a bunch of different times for interviews and being part of things like that. And BCAT got it, man. Brooklyn. I know Kimona's over there like, yeah. Brooklyn got it. BCAT is, and again, I haven't been to Manhattan. I haven't been to one Staten Island, but yesterday I was in the Bronx. I've been in QPTV mad times. BCAT got it. So I actually need to reach out to someone in BCAT. And I said this a while ago, put it out there, haven't done it yet. But I want to do my shows at BCAT, right? Do my shows. I have no problem traveling to Brooklyn, right? I'm already in Brooklyn some mornings, right? And then be in Brooklyn more mornings. But going to BCAT to do my show, right? I think the people are great, right? The spaces are phenomenal. My first TV interview was in QPTV, but probably my favorite interview was at BCAT with the L Spot, friend of mine, Jessica Lanice Chalmers. She interviewed me and Usha. Me and Usha was on TV together when Usha was a baby, and I put her book out, and we was on TV talking about her book. It was her. It was me, Usha, right? And obviously she was a baby, so she wasn't talking, but she was there. And OnStar. OnStar is an incredible actor. He played MC Shan in the Roxanne Shante biopic. He is incredible actor. He dances with Waffle Crew NYC. Incredible dancers at NYC, Get Light and all of that. He's an incredible rapper. He's freaking phenomenally talented. He's Little Mama's brother, right? Incredible dude. we were on the show together, him, myself, and I had my daughter, and we connected. And she got pictures with him. Super dope, super cute moment. But BCat got it. But anyway, going back real quick before we wrap up. BronxNet, Keith Gaffney, X The Unknown Factor, dope TV show. Eddie Kruger joined me. Frank Brown joined me. The good brother Javon, the Prophet of Love, who was also a fellow All Kings member. He was part of the panel. And again, it was great. Conversation centered around black men, young black men, and all of the things I mentioned. And yeah, man, I personally think they got something great, right? That can go really far. I really love that a black woman is producing that show, right? She had a headset on and she was running things and talking to the people inside, the tech people, and had her team. And I was like, yeah, that was real dope. Shout out to the good brother Keith Gaffney. Shout out to the whole team behind X The Unknown Factor, BronxNet, and all of that good stuff, man. And with that, guys, this show is a wrap. We are coming to the close of the day, man. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Sefu said, overthinking is not addressed enough by people. It is counterproductive. Thank you, Willie Levy. Absolutely. 100% it is. But yo, listen, guys, I love you. I appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your boy, your host, LaShawn Sugar Ray Marston. This is episode 467 of SRDaily. Please do join us tomorrow. Same time, same place, 9 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and Instagram Live for episode 468 as we close out week 94. 94 weeks on air coming to a close tomorrow. Moving closer and closer to week 95. Moving closer and closer to episode 500. I will be hopefully getting a definitive answer today. I am going to Queensbridge. I will talk to my man Jerry at the community center and see if we can do the 500th episode, November 18th, Tuesday, November 18th, at our community center in Queensbridge. See you guys tomorrow. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. And remember, it's not getting knocked down that's the problem. It's staying down. So get up. Power is in you. As always, be kind to yourself. Be kind to each other. Peace and love. Have a great day.